Good evening, folks, and welcome to Voces Unidas, a virtual open mic ekphrastic series meant to highlight the voices and talents of Latinx and BIPOC communities here in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew Aaron Valdez, and if no one has told you today, I love you and we will always love you here. So thank you so much once again to the Julia de Burgos Cultural Arts Center, 12 Literary Arts, the Cleveland Foundation, Unidas por el Arte, and to Cuyahoga Arts and Culture for ensuring that we can have this time together. We've got a rocking set list of art for you today. Before we dive into it, I'd be remiss to acknowledge that we are currently occupying stolen land. I'm here with you virtually, but physically, I'm residing on Shawnee, Windows, Ottawa, and Seneca lands known today as Cleveland, Ohio. I'd also like to acknowledge the atrocities that have befallen onto our Black communities with the losses of myrayx, Philando Castillo, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, Rhea Milton, Elijah McClain, George Floyd, and countless others. The impact of their losses will have a detrimental effect on society as we know it for years to come. I also want to acknowledge the strife that has fallen on our families in the immigrant farm working communities, our LGBTQIA plus community, friends of Asian descent who are currently being scrutinized by 45's racist allegations concerning COVID-19, and the countless communities of color who are currently struggling against the mass racial injustices in the world today. I'd please like for you to join me today in a moment of silence as we honor those communities. Thank you. Knowing that silence in of itself is not the only thing and should not be the only thing we do to help honor and to help lift up these communities. Participating in your polling that is closest to you in the upcoming months will be extremely important, as well as donating monetary funds to the communities that have been afflicted today and in the past. If you would like to see more information about where some appropriate places you should donate, please go to the Julia de Burgos Cultural Arts Center website and find some information there. Thank you again. Tonight we'll be hearing from folks representing both the Julia de Burgos Cultural Arts Center and 12 Literary Arts. Our artists are going to be responding to original visual work created by local Latinx Cleveland artists. Those artists are Alicia Vasquez, Cyan Reyes, Celine Gandaria, and Manny Santiago. Our lineup of poets and artists who are responding to their visual work include Deija Vinson, Blanca Salva, Myranda Ayala, Ines Joris, Sydney Berry, Bella Sin, James Irby, and Elisa Beatris Fuentes Aguirre. Once more, just a huge thank you to the folks at the Julia de Burgos Cultural Arts Center, to the folks at 12 Literary Arts, the Cleveland Foundation, Unidas por el Arte, Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, and of course, our wonderful artists and all of you for the contributions that you have made in creating a space that celebrates Latinx and BIPOC community voices here and around the country in the past couple of weeks in our past series of Voces Unidas. Thank you so much for uplifting our voices. And thank you so much for continuing to do so as you're here with us now. Anyways, and without further ado, let's get into our list of amazing featured artists with our first performer. I'm so excited for you to get to hear not only our work, but see the artwork that was inspired from it. Thank you.
First up, we have Deija Vinson responding to Alicia Vasquez's piece, The Puerto Rican Boa.
Okay, sorry. My phone was going my computer is going a little weird. On loving a man who offers you a shirt, on loving a naked man who offers you a shirt, or a necromancy of hollow bones and phoenix ashes, meet a smothered girl and mimic a solar eclipse. We held hands as if we both knew you were lying, as if fingers could stop the edges from fraying. And not to say that this wasn't a murder, but something about the way your lips sipped silence and reverence made this consensual. Because we loved the way swamps are formed, like water going nowhere. And there are no currents here, and no poems, for how quickly we threw ourselves into shallow water. And no poems, for how quickly we threw ourselves into shallow water, but tides are not a safe place to land, so we crash and crash and crash and crash and crash till all we know is crashing, and it's no wonder you keep calling this falling. Because you took me to soothe rivers and drowned me out instead, but I am learning not to breathe underwater, to hold my breath stiff as skeletons and float, and try to find a rebirth in my lungs, to unswallow my voice, and a grapevine, and a graveyard dig for tongues in my stomach because I am too tired to dive in after drowning boys.
Next up, we have Blanca Salva responding to Manny Santiago's Vanessa Guillen.
Good evening, everyone. This is Blanca Salva. This is my piece in response to Manny Santiago's piece, Justicia. Justicia, ¿a dónde estás? ¿Nos ha abandonado otra vez? Justicia, con los ojos cubiertos, ¿por qué no te quitas ese vendado para ver cómo sufrimos? Promesas hechas y no cumplidas, todo en el nombre de justicia. ¿No te das cuenta de que las escalas de justicia que llevan su mano se han llenado con nuestra sangre? ¿Por qué no pediste que nos unimos para golpearnos y luego a revivir nuestras peores pesadillas y sentir otra vez la traición? Ay, justicia, qué error has cometido. Ya no puedes silenciar nuestras voces clavándonos con una rodilla doblada o con cadenas y puertas de una prisión hechas de hierro. Este es nuestro tiempo para reclamar nuestros todos derechos que antes nos han negado. Cada lágrima manchada de sangre es otra alma perdida por las injusticias que te ha dejado ciega y sorda mientras sufrimos. Con cadenas y a la fuerza, contra nuestra voluntad, nos llevaron a tierras lejanas, nos vendieron como ganado. No debemos olvidarnos de lo que nuestros antepasados han sacrificado por unas promesas para una mañana mejor. Y sin embargo, todavía se escuchan los gritos de mis hermanos y hermanas. Y todavía prefieres quedarte ciega y sorda suplicando que seguimos aceptando el maldito propaganda falsa, prometiendo justicia para todos. Nuestra gente ha sobrevivido tantas injusticias y a través de los siglos siguen creciendo más fuerte. Con cada nueva generación, nuestras voces y nuestras voluntades son más fuertes sin tu ayuda, querida señora Justicia. Así que no nos llamas salvajes, porque ahora te respondamos con la misma fuerza, el mismo oído, el mismo prejuicio y maltrato que nos has alimentado sobre todo este tiempo. Ay, mi querida Justicia, cómo me enamoré de tus promesas, tus ilusiones y de libertad y de juicio justo para todos que te buscan su ayuda. Ahora, finalmente, me di de cuenta que soy yo el que llevaba una máscara sobre mis ojos. Ahora veo la verdad. Nunca permitiré que nadie me cubre de mentiras, que me niegue mis derechos, que hacerme callar mi verdad. Así que ahora, mi querida señora Justicia, estará llorando lágrimas de sangre, pero no de mí, sino por tus crímenes de injusticia contra ellos que creyeron en ti. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you so much, Blanca. Next up, we have Myranda Ayala responding to Arcelia Gandarilla's piece, Doobie.
Good afternoon. This piece is in response to Doobie. It's titled Protection at All Cost. When my hairdresser finds a grenade, she looks at me and says, "Mija, what's in your hair?" Kicks me back to chair to basin, splits my scalp 6 ways and moans as she reads my part. I can soak this, I can scrub. She strikes a match, rolls tobacco, covers me in feather and smoke. I can soak this, I can scrub. She rolls an egg over me. She smells of copper and iron. She smells heavy. She is suffocating. You can smoke this, you can scrub. She pulling energy back, arching, but you are sick. Mal de ojo, mi amor. It'll split your ends, ends to crown, crown to mind, your mind a bomb. Mija, wrap your hair for 7 days. Keep it covered, keep it close. They will beg you to pull off your scarf, to pull out the pins, but they just want to see you blow. Thank you, and bendiciones.
Como Edipo, como el rey Lear, camino por senderos desconocidos, bosques, desiertos, lugares inhóspitos, apocalípticos. Los ojos me duelen, Las imágenes que guardo en algún lugar recóndito de mi mente se desdibujan. Alguien ha echado agua sobre ellas y me esfuerzo por distinguir los contornos de mis recuerdos. Los rostros que algún día fueron familiares, cariñosos, amables, se convierten en fantasmas y esperpentos. Aún así no cejo en mi propósito y sigo caminando, sin mis ojos preciosos, que aún siento como si estuvieran ahí, pero no están. Solo dos cuencas vacías, sangrientas y dolorosas, que empiezan a secarse y que tapo con una venda para no asustar a quien quiera que se cruce en mi camino. Pero mi camino es solitario y duro. Busco a toda costa la justicia ciega, la verdad. Mi camino es injusto, de un modo muy justo. Me saqué yo misma los ojos en búsqueda de la verdad. Los árboles no me dejaban ver el bosque. Mi ecuanimidad se perdía en los detalles. Hacía falta un sacrificio para los dioses. Mis ojos preciosos. Tienes dos ojos como dos soles, le decía la gente a la niña pequeña que miraba y miraba en silencio. Pero qué ojos. Adiós, ojos preciosos. Quien algo quiere, algo le cuesta. Justicia poética, justicia divina. No provoques la ira de los dioses. ¿Pero qué Dios? ¿El de Moisés? ¿Ojo por ojo? ¿El de Cristo? Yemayá, Oyá, Ochun, Obatalá, Krishna, Vishnu, Alá, la Madre Tierra. Pero ahora, en mi soledad, dudo y me pregunto, ¿valió la pena el sacrificio? ¿Estoy siendo yo justicia, justa de verdad o justiciera? Alguien dijo que el hombre, la mujer, el individuo, era el hombre y su circunstancia. Mi ceguera eterna me impide ver la circunstancia. Me ciño a los hechos. Los afectos quedaron atrás hace mucho tiempo, en la infancia. Cría cuervos y te sacarán los ojos. Cría cuervos. Yo, mi propio cuervo. Yo me hago a mí misma. Yo me creo a mí misma y me destruyo. Como el ave fénix, renazco de mis propias cenizas cada vez. Pero mientras tanto, ando sola y ciega por este valle de lágrimas secas, rojas, negras, endurecidas por el polvo del camino. Y sigo buscando la verdad.
So much. That was Ines Joris responding to Manny Santiago. And next up, we have Bea Sin responding to all 4 pieces.
Cariño mío, no llores mi vida, que yo te llevo. Y en este lecho de amor, danzando muero. Todos llevamos dentro un muerto que acompaña, que aparece cuando la noche llega y el sol se apaga. Todos llevamos dentro un muerto que acompaña, que aparece cuando la noche llega y el tiempo, yo de ti quiero un pedacito de tu memoria y cuerpo. Todos llevamos dentro un muerto que acompaña, que aparece cuando la noche llega y el sol se apaga. Todos llevamos dentro un muerto que acompaña, que aparece cuando la noche llega y el sol. Salud y vida por nuestros muertos, calaveritas primero, fúnebre cielo y estrellas negras, dulce consuelo te llevo con las abuelas y abuelos danzando muero.
No es suficiente afirmar que la justicia tarda pero llega. La justicia que no se ejerce cuando corresponde ya es injusta. Que la justicia tarda pero llega.
Salud y vida por nuestros muertos, calaveritas primero, fúnebre cielo y estrellas negras, dulce consuelo te llevo con las abuelas y abuelos danzando muero, danzando muero, danzando muero, danzando muero.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have James Irby, and he will be responding to both Alicia Vasquez, Puerto Rican Boa, and Manny Santiago's Vanessa Guillen.
Parcel tongued. I've seen men who could abracadabra a black boy into a snake, cage him for slithering. They will not understand. They will call it parcel tongue and label him a dark lord. They will call it anything except what it is. When a black boy cries out, they will call it parcel tongue. Language is the greatest weapon against oppression. And the first thing they will take, my language, my name, my history, my culture is buried within the tongue, but it will not die here. So when I bury my tongue, plants will blossom from the earth's bosom like milk from a mama's nipple, and what a sweet nectar it is. All this heritage, all this truth, all this rage, strange fruit birthed by a plant's palm, and suddenly the universe knows my name, my history, my culture is buried in my tongue like magic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Elisa Beatris Fuentes Aguirre responding to Arcelia Gandaria's Dubi.
Hi. Ooh, gotta make sure I'm okay. Yeah, I'm here. So as I looked at this piece, I saw self-care. self-love, self-acceptance, self-celebration, especially with those bold, vibrant colors. And I was just so happy to see such beautiful Afro-Latinx representation. With the tragedy that's happened this summer, I've become more and more aware of the anti-Blackness in the Latinx community. And it really pains me to think that Black folk might not feel safe in spaces created by my community, whether they be Latinx or not. Especially when I've always felt, coming from a very white town, I've always felt most comfortable in Black spaces. So I wrote a little monologue, kind of exploring all these things, and I hope you enjoy. And it's definitely highly inspired by my life, but not autobiographical. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what it meant to be Mexican, because it seemed like this country that my parents decided to come to categorized people as white or Black. I'm not Black, that's obvious enough. But I learned that my Mexicanness doesn't fit inside whiteness either when I watched my proud Mexican father try to figure out which parts of himself to bury in order to make the white patrons at his restaurant comfortable. I never understood how Dad could have this Mexican pride, yet spend so much time trying to make white people happy. I knew the two things didn't go together because when I showed my Mexican pride at my school, the puros pinches gringos, they laughed at me. They let me know that they didn't see me as one of them, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out why. I thought I would figure it out during the history class in which we learned about the time white people saw themselves, or maybe others, as so different that the country needed whites only and colored signs. But my teachers made it seem like Mexicans didn't exist in those times, or at least they could never tell me, would I have been let into whites only spaces? I have the skin, and I know you don't need blonde hair and blue eyes to be white anymore. But what about the fact that I don't live in a house with a white picket fence and a dog? Would I have been let into white only spaces even though I don't have any trophies or ribbons from my extracurriculars or even do extracurriculars? Even though I can't play a single instrument? Even though I don't get taken to baseball games and barbecues by Dad or chauffeured to dance practice and soccer practice by Mom? Can I comfortably exist in white spaces even though my mother could never contribute anything in PTA meetings because she doesn't speak the language of the other moms? Even though she never knew that the PTA meetings existed? Even though my family never had dinner together, and even if it did, it would never have meatloaf or baked potatoes with sour cream or macaroni and cheese? Can I be white even though I had to tell my parents all the right things to do to look like good parents to those white suburban types? Even though Mom only brought treats for my peers on my birthday because I asked her to, and even though the cupcakes were store-bought, even though I had to convince my parents to come to parent-teacher conferences, and even though I have to play translator in the middle of those meetings, all about evaluating whether I was up to standard or not. Up to standard, up to standard. Eventually, I got tired of performing these fucking standards. I was tired of feeling like my entire existence was spent trying to run from my Mexicanness, spent trying to check all of these white standards and still not even know if I was going to get a piece of the privilege or even acceptance. So when my parents got divorced and Mom said she was taking me back to Chicago, I didn't care that it had been 6 years since I'd lived there. I was so ready to be back in a place where I wasn't the only Mexican, where lots of people were bilingual, where I didn't have to feel like a freak, and where white people were just regular people, not the people I had to try to be like to be accepted. I was ready to be myself and find my people, and I started by reconnecting with my best friend from preschool, Diana, and she was kind enough to let me in on everything I needed to know to survive at my new school. And she was honest enough to tell me verbatim, basically, the cool kids are the Black kids. I didn't know what to think. I wanted to be cool at my new school, but where I had come from, there was absolutely no Black presence. But my best friend Diana talked about Blackness as if it was something that could be learned. This was the music to bump. These are the dances to do. These are the shoes and the brands to wear. Oh, we don't say people are ugly anymore. We say they're popped, or maybe they're busted. We don't say, yeah, right. We say, got me bent, or maybe got me twisted. But as much as I loved learning from Diana, I couldn't get myself to try anymore. I didn't tear off my white costume to step into a Black one. Some of the music and dancing and rich new language she taught me naturally stuck. But if my peers wanted to treat me like a lame for not wearing the whole costume, I could survive. And treat me like a lame, they did. All kinds of kids did. but only in my first year. After that, I think I started to give off vibes of, I know I belong here regardless of what y'all think, because then people started treating me like I belonged. All kinds of people. I made friends. Lots of Latinx friends. Of course, I was in Chicago. Black friends, yeah. And yes, even white friends. Because Chicago white people were different from suburbia white people. I thought maybe I was making that up, but it was confirmed for me when I had to move back to suburbia, optimistic about my social life because I had finally learned to be myself, only to face the same white faces that were even weirder toward me because I guess my time in Chicago made me even more different from them. But I was done hiding behind a performance of whiteness. And I learned that the Black presence in my town wasn't non-existent. It was just hidden from me. When I found a best friend with a Black dad and a Colombian mom who loved celebrating his Blackness in our sour cream town and who loved celebrating his Latinidad with me, and who took me to all of the tiny but lively Black functions that he could in our little town, where I was always accepted with open arms just for showing up as myself. So maybe Blackness is about knowing who you are and having the self-love to be loud and proud about it. Maybe Blackness is about the resilience to continually do that, even if your surroundings constantly try to tell you that your way of existing is wrong. Or maybe I shouldn't be fucking trying to figure out or define Blackness as a brown kid or as any kind of person. And I should just be trying to learn how to accept, embrace, and celebrate humanity in all of its forms. Maybe then it wouldn't have to matter what it means to be Mexican. Maybe then I could just be. Maybe we could all just be. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm supposed to be leading us in a few words out of here. Am I good to go? Do we need to say anything else before I let these people know who I am, who they haven't seen yet? No? Anybody? One second. Let's see. Good to go. All right. So that was the set. That was the performances. Those are the responses to the art pieces. And we kept it nice and tight for everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Eric Odom. I'm a youth program coordinator with 12 Literary Arts. And I just want to say personally from everyone at 12 that it has been an absolute pleasure to get to work with the center and all of these new faces and people who we want to talk to and see about getting into our programming, maybe, potentially. Who knows? But on that note, I mean, I hope that everyone enjoyed themselves. I hope that everyone has gained some new perspective. I hope that you've been inspired to speak up, to use your voice, to be heard, to express. And yeah, I would say travel safely, but the majority of you are already at home. If there's nothing else, anything else that I need to mention, anything I'm forgetting, y'all, my lovely people in the chat over here on this end. Oh, yes. Okay, you are about to find out about these lovely tip jars, these virtual tip jars that we have in order to try to put some money into these amazing artists' pockets because bills need to be paid and coin helps. And I think that it's going to be introduced by someone. Me? Well, I mean, we have a virtual tip jar. Okay. How can people go about that? What do they need to do? What's the easiest way for people to donate? There's a slide coming up. Come on. Yes.